Welcome to episode 4 of the 24-Hour Hustle Show, and today we got special guest, private chef, private personal trainer, and program creator, Michael Evan. So, welcome to the show. My name is Anthony Freeze. I'm the host of the 24-Hour Hustle Show, and today we got special guest Michael Evan. Definitely excited to have him on the show today. Accomplished entrepreneur, business owner of his own meal prep company called The Greater Physique. And we're going to get right into the show. I don't want to hold us up anymore because I definitely want to get into the conversation with this guy. So, What's happening, bro?
Killing it. Taking it to the max every day, man.
I hear you. I hear you.
Taking it to the max.
Okay, so what's been up with the past couple of days since we last got together?
Yeah, the last couple of days, trying to get the website together, trying to continue pushing my clients in the right direction, transitioning from spring and summer training into fall training is always a little difficult on the personal training side of things, but we're moving right along. I'm getting ready for the winter. So.
Sounds good. All right, so as we do always on this show, how about we get into the background, talk about your origin story, where you're from, where you grew up, any siblings, things like that, your upbringing, and let's get into that.
Definitely. Siblings, that's interesting. I have a sister. She's 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
My little sidekick, man. I love her to death. She actually helps me with a lot of stuff, like with the business, invoicing, emails, that type of stuff. She does some proofing, so I try to keep her right under my wing. Grew up in Woodland Hills School District. Before that, went to Penn Hills. So that was a little tough, leaving Penn Hills to go to Woodland Hills. Those two schools hate each other.
Yeah.
So, that was a little weird, but I lived in Forest Hills, still live in Forest Hills to this day. Mm-hmm. And, got my start at a gym close by, and still rocking to the very moment. 20 minutes ago, walked out of the gym and came over here. So
man, that's dedicated.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. So fast forwarding a little bit, with your upbringing and things like that. What inspired you to become a private chef, or what happened that you fell into that role and became a private chef?
Several years ago, I was working in restaurants, and I was bouncing around from one place to another. Obviously, I was traveling, doing some other things that I do on the side at the same time.
Now, what age were you at this point when you became when you got into?
I've been in food since I was 15.
Okay.
Relatively serious job when I was younger. Up until I was about 21 years old, I was in restaurant management. So I was back of the house, shift manager, and 15 to 21, I worked in the same place. And then I just started bouncing around from restaurant to restaurant, working with different chefs, working with different catering companies and that type of thing. What got me into being a private chef was I absolutely love working with food. Mm-hmm. I just hate the industry structure in most of the places that I work. There's a lot of people who go into the restaurant industry and they absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. I just can't stand it.
What was the structure that you disliked about it?
I think no matter what it was, I always had someone over me. I always had a boss.
Okay.
And I always had a different method to doing something that may or may not have been successful in my boss's eyes. Uh-huh. So I just wanted to be able to do things the way that I wanted them done. Mm-hmm. Whether it was presentation, product flow, whatever it was, I wanted to be able to do things myself. Mm-hmm. And so one day I was like, you know what, this is probably the last shift that I'm ever going to work for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And I went into it on my own. There was a promise. If I went back into food, it was going to be on my own dime. It was going to be on my own terms. Otherwise, I wasn't doing it. I was ready to move on to something else completely. Mm-hmm. So that was the number one reason for that.
So some of these things, I guess, while you were working there, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, while you were there, is that where you started to have the feeling of maybe wanting to be an entrepreneur and start something of your own, or did you get that feeling even before that?
The feeling was far before that.
Okay.
And I think that was part of something I really liked and enjoyed about modeling and acting was that I was on my own.
So you did modeling even before you were a private?
Yeah, definitely. That was
So how old were you did the modeling?
Thing. Probably 19 till now.
Oh, okay.
So those opportunities came few and far between as far as like getting important roles and gigs, but it was always a feeling of self-accomplishment because you put yourself in the room, you put yourself in front of the casting agency or whoever was casting the runway show or whatever it was you were doing, you did that. Nobody else put you in that situation. So that was always something that I kind of felt entrepreneurial about because that was my own doing. It was me making that happen. And so I always, my dad was self-employed for many, many years. He owned electronic shops right over here on Penn Avenue, and then he went and did audio and visual for a number of churches. So he bounced around doing his own thing too. So I kind of feel like I got the majority of that from him. And even my sister is taking on her own, you know, entrepreneurial roles or self-employed roles with her small makeup company. So she travels around and does hair and makeup. So it's kind of, you know, it spreads through who's around you. So,
Absolutely.
It's been a long-term thing. I always knew that one day I wanted to be my own man.
Yeah.
And I just kept imagining it, kept visualizing it, and then one day I found myself in my desk, submerged in paperwork, and not having a boss. So that's how quickly it happened.
Awesome. So what did your mom do? Did she do anything entrepreneurial or anything like
my
that?
mom was a psychiatric nurse. Before that, she was a flight attendant.
Okay.
So never really anything too entrepreneurial, but a lot of structure around whatever she was doing. So definitely not entrepreneurial, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your family members, especially like your dad, being a business owner and things like that, was able to influence you. Who would you say at the point in time when you were, feeling like you wanted to take the leap of entrepreneurship, being in business, who are some people that inspired you to want to be a business owner, call your own shots, be your own man, and things like that at that point in time?
To be completely honest, while I was still working for a few different restaurants, I was teetering in being a private personal chef for a catering company. And the owner of the catering company, his name is Bob Sandal. He's really, in his own bubble, he's extremely successful. In the city, he's extremely successful for what he does. Private catering and event planning and weddings and that sort of thing. His business does really, really well. And the lifestyle that he lives, he goes on vacations, he travels and all this other stuff, but he has this sense of self. I mean, the level of importance that his business has to him, it's so important to him. It's like his baby.
Right.
I really admired that. You know, his relationships with his employees and so on. So being around him, like to start, the entrepreneurial journey, that was like the first person who was his own man, self-made, started from the bottom and just kind of worked his way up over the course of years, obviously. But he was the first person that I was like really, really drawn to the lifestyle, drawn to the world around him. You know, he built his own storefront, made it his home, and his business was directly across the street from his home and so on. Like he did a lot of very small, smart things that were just kind of, very conducive to being self-employed and making it convenient to actually be your own boss.
Right.
He did things very, very intelligently for himself. So I really admired that.
So did you guys have like a mentor-mentee relationship, or did you were you able to kind of pick up some things? Like, how was the relationship? Were you able to learn some of those things from him?
Well, it certainly was a mentor-mentee, but it was more of just some of the environments that being at that job put me in, they put me around other people who were extremely successful. It wasn't necessarily that they worked with him or for him. They usually were the people hiring his company to do a certain thing. So this put us in CEOs' homes. This put us in owners' homes. This put us in presidents of banks' homes. This put us in a really, really, the dynamic of the environments that we were in were of a higher level than I was used to.
Right.
So looking around and seeing all these successful individuals, it was like, how am I, a year ago I was in the back of someone's restaurant, and now I'm walking around and I have keys to someone's, I'm moving around $500,000 cars and walking through, $3 or $4 million homes and so on at will with permission. The owners aren't even here. They're trusting us to do this thing for their family and so on. So it was being around that environment and being trusted. The fact that these clients trusted him and his business to do a certain thing I really, really admired that. And so now I have that for myself, amongst my clients. And so that was really, really a big inspiration for me. Huge.
So what would you say was like one of the best experiences you've had at the time when you were a private chef?
I remember working alongside a very close friend of mine who's a private chef still to this day. I remember working alongside him and walking through a dining room and seeing the mayor and seeing football players and seeing all these people, and then having a conversation with some individuals later after we were finished working, only to realize that several people in the room were on the Forbes list.
Really?
And I never even knew it. These people functioned like they
like
were
regular
just
people.
Partying like anybody else. And it was just like, you're that close.
Right.
Like, you never know who you're going to meet. Always be ready. and always have yourself, at a place where if you do happen to have a conversation with someone who is the CEO of a bank or is the executive at a firm, they have a good word for you.
Oh, yeah.
They had a great experience talking to you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that was like a really, really high moment.
It sounded like you had a lot of good networking opportunities
Absolutely.
at that point in time too, to be able to bump arms with a lot of different people like that. So how do you feel about even moving forward? How do you feel like that has helped you move forward and starting the Greater Physique?
Well, you mentioned what you just said was a great thing. There was a lot of opportunities in the rooms, and at that point, I didn't even have the smarts to take advantage of those opportunities. Now things are a lot different. If I had the ability to go back and redo a lot of those chances or times, things would be a lot different for me nowadays. Because obviously the networking is there, the ability to talk and create opportunity with conversation with people is a lot different. And so I think if I had the smarts that I have now back then, things would be a lot different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
we all say that they
would be way different.
Oh yeah. I would love to go back in time to maybe at least just 21.
Yeah.
If I knew what I know now, then be a complete game changer.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I totally feel you.
I think
on
that goes for everybody.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, who wouldn't want to be younger for a little bit longer?
Sure.
So when you did while you were doing the private chef, you were in the middle of that. You started doing modeling as well.
Yeah.
So how did you get into that? So did you start modeling as a side hobby, or did somebody introduce you? How did you get into the modeling?
To be completely honest, I think somebody referred me to do a fashion show.
Really?
And just like anything
Where was the
else,
fashion show?
It was here in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I don't quite remember what the name of it was. Obviously, there was a maybe 3 years straight where I didn't miss a show. If there was a fashion event or some sort of photo shoot, I was probably either auditioning, casting, or I was there.
Right.
So I didn't miss much. And so a lot of that kind of is a blur. But once again, like my objective in doing that at the time was, if I'm going to do it, I want to be the best or the most known. So I just went nuts about it and made sure I didn't miss a single beat. And, just like a lot of things, you evolve onto something else or you get into other things. But still to this day, I take as many auditions as I possibly can, book as many gigs as I possibly can, try to show up for as many background, stand-in and commercial roles as I possibly can. So it never went away. It just evolved onto something else.
So for anybody that may be watching or listening that may want to get into modeling, because I have a lot of model friends that are trying to break into the business and things like that. What insight or advice would you give somebody that wants to get the opportunity to get their foot in the door?
Yeah, it's really, really simple, and this is going to sound It's going to sound so self-confident that it's going to sound arrogant, but I don't care.
Go for it, man. This is real.
This is what I wish someone would have told me a long time ago. There's a certain personality that will or will not make it modeling and acting. And it's a relentless networking spirit. Somebody who gets up in the middle of the night, checking emails, checking Facebook pages, checking casting calls, checking with photographers, networking with people, getting both behind and in front of the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's equally as important. And someone who, you see a lot of people who take a lot of selfies, a lot of pictures, a lot on their Instagram, all this fun stuff, but very few people are practicing modeling.
Right.
You have, to model it's way more difficult than people think. And, part of what got me into fitness in the first place was being in New York City and jumping from couch to couch and sleeping on floors and all this other stuff and seeing what these models were going to casting calls with their lookbooks. They had invested $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in just photography work, paying different photographers to shoot, so they had quality images to go forward with and get in front of these agencies. That's the thing that people in a smaller industry don't understand, is on a major scale, these people have made investments, both time and finance. And so whenever you're in a small industry like Pittsburgh, you have a lot of people that are shooting a lot of great quality work, but it's not the greatest thing. A really, really good photographer from New York City said to me, he said, "People in Pittsburgh know who you are." And I said, "Yes, they certainly do." And he said, "I don't know who you are." So
that's a powerful statement.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
I don't know you.
Right.
You're not that great.
Not only that, I know
you didn't escape the walls of that little city.
Exactly.
I don't know who you are.
Exactly. And I know for me, that's something that always keeps me motivated. I mean, I don't care how many people know me in Pittsburgh. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to break out even
reach.
further than that.
Yep.
I want to feel like I'm always small,
Definitely.
and just always have the ambitions to want to be big.
Right.
And a lot of the things that you said as far as the modeling thing is the grind. I mean, that's all
the
that
hustle. It's got to be every day. Like, I mean, there's some sort of casting or some sort of casting call or some sort of audition that you can be in line for every day.
Oh,
and
yeah.
when I was looking at it, like, I signed up for Grant Whiffley, I signed up for Casting Networks, I signed up for Nancy Mosser. I was on like 5 or 6 different email lists.
Yeah,
and even still to this day, if I go through my model email, it's lit. Like, I can jump back in if I want,
At
you
any
know,
time.
like, because I just built this like solid network to where it wasn't necessarily that the invitations were for me to walk in the room, but the opportunities are right there.
Right.
And if I'm hungry enough, I can make a couple of phone calls, get my name recognized. That way, when I show up, somebody knows who I am, and they'll pull me in the back room.
Exactly.
Or at least make sure that I'm in the right line. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So there's a certain personality type. Like, if somebody messages you and says, "Hey, how do you think I get into modeling?" They are not going to make it. That's just how I feel, unless they're very young. But if you're like 20, 21, 22, and you don't get it, that it's just simply networking, talking to people, shooting a shit ton of images, and getting your face out there, then move on. Go do something else, because you're just going to get your feelings hurt because you're just not hungry enough for it. Like, you shouldn't have to ask how to get into modeling.
Right.
Go on the internet and read about it.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I mean, and
you know what I'm saying? Like, go read, go study.
These days, I guess the new saying would be, "You're one click away."
Right.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
And the thing is, like, there's all this information on the internet. Some of it is right. Some of it applies to different people.
Right.
Whatever. There's different bits of information that apply to everybody. The number one thing is that the information is out there. The how-tos are out there.
Oh, yeah.
How to submit digital images to an agency.
YouTube, Google.
Easy. Like, really, really easy. So when somebody, like, when I was in it, I used to get messages all the time because people thought I was, like, the hot shit because I was doing things here in Pittsburgh. But, like, I used to get messages all the time, like, how do I get into modeling? Like, how do I, and it's like, dude, like, go look on the best models Instagram page.
Exactly.
Follow suit. Get to, like, just go shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Call a photographer. Hey, do you want to shoot? Network with people. People, if they don't have, like, it's like no one wants a dry lens.
Right.
People want to shoot. You know what I mean? People want to shoot content, and when they haven't had something good and you have a look of potential, they will shoot with you. Like, ask them.
Right.
Like, just go talk to people.
Right.
That's my number one thing. Go talk to people.
Oh yeah.
Network.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Reach out to other models. Hey, love your work. Who'd you shoot with? Like, just.
I mean,
you shouldn't have many questions.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I love the networking aspect, especially in the days of like social media and things like that. I'm in the DMs all the time, messaging
Reach
people.
out.
I mean, just in case anybody's wondering, that's how I get people for the show.
Right.
All day long,
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, all day messaging people.
Yep.
And it's a numbers game. I mean, you just gotta
Yeah.
you know
You play
message.
100, you might get 10.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Might get 10.
that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
So that's a lot of good insight for sure. So moving forward, so you were doing private chef and modeling at the same time.
Sure.
And then you got to the point where you wanted to leave doing the private chef. And by the way,
For someone else.
yeah, exactly. You don't want to do it for
right.
someone else.
Right. I just couldn't. I was just like, eh.
Right, I feel the same way. I feel you. So when you got to the point where you're starting to build your own brand of the Greater Physique and things like that, how did you transition from working for someone else as a private chef, also doing modeling on the side, and then starting up the Greater Physique? Like, what was that transition like into starting and building your own business?
I'm not gonna say it was easy, but it was kind of like it was almost seamless. Because like we were talking about before, like I just started doing more of my own thing and less of somebody else's, and I just focused more energy and effort on the client I do have, how do I keep that person? How do I keep them interested in what I'm doing? And I just tried to duplicate and replicate that, and the next thing you know, one scale was higher than the other, and I didn't need to return back to work. Like, fortunately, my expenses weren't like, oh, there's no way I can't show up to work. I need that income. I was just able to make a trade-off for time doing something for somebody else, for time doing something for myself. So that was it. I just slowly stopped doing, and I wasn't afraid to just drop it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't afraid to just be like, people are going to be pissed at work that
Yeah.
I'm not here, or I'm not coming in, or I'm done. But, as friends, if they value the relationship, they'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, they'll be mad at me for a couple days until they find somebody else to carry the task, and then they'll be over it.
Right.
I think a lot of decisions are not made because people are afraid of what some one person is going to think or say or their response to it.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, if the person values your relationship and they know you want something bad enough and you're walking away from this situation, they should understand.
Oh, yeah.
If they value the relationship.
Right.
And a week later, they won't be mad at you anymore.
Right.
They'll be, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How are things going? And so I just wasn't afraid to just walk away from the situation and start really, really hedging more so towards being of value to my clients,
right,
and building my client base.
And one of the things that when we sat down to talk before, that I was always impressed with, that I found out, is that you didn't even go to school to be a chef or anything like that. You didn't go to culinary school or anything like that.
No.
And your work, I mean, if you check out this guy's Instagram, his work is amazing.
I appreciate that.
I mean, the things that you learned in being a private chef, you've definitely learned a lot, because let me tell you, that shit looks legit.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And you didn't go to school for it. And another thing was, you didn't have to deal with, like, whenever you did get into starting the Greater Physique, is that you didn't have to deal with like any student loans or anything like that.
Definitely.
So a lot of your expenses were low to the point where you could be able to
move right in.
Exactly, and supplement your income very easily.
Sure.
So what are some of the things that you were able to do to generate revenue in the beginning? Because I know you also do personal training for people as well. Which came first? The
chicken or the egg?
I know. That's kind of what I was going with. The fitness or the meal prep and things like that.
I think what got me the start in meal prep altogether was the fact that I was prepping my own food, and one of my training clients. So the training came first.
Okay.
One of my training clients saw it and knew about it and knew it was available, but didn't necessarily take advantage. And training clients would always work and work and work and work and work and not see the expected result. And at the end of the day, and this is why I try to team up with other personal trainers, is because their results are not dependent on the 2% of the day that they spend in the gym. It's the rest of the day when they're out eating, partying with friends, smoking cigarettes, sitting at the bar, that totally derails their results.
Right.
So I wanted to alleviate that problem. My thing was, I had clients who were disappointed in themselves because they were putting in maximum effort in the gym, but they weren't able to do those things behind the scenes that needed to be done as far as nutrition. So I took that responsibility away from them, and I did the food for them, and for a number of weeks it worked really, really well. So that was the inception, if you will, of meal prep paired with private personal training.
So so anybody that may also be looking to do and become a personal trainer, how did you start that up and getting clients and things like that? What was the story of how that happened?
I had one and did really, really well with that one.
Simple.
Very simple strategy. And then I had that one, tell a friend.
Exactly.
And then that 2, told a friend. And then that 3, told a friend. And then the next thing you know, it was like, okay, can't take anymore. It just started out with one really, really good, solid relationship. A friend of mine mentioned to a friend of mine, hey, a friend of mine's a great personal trainer, check him out. And then that person stuck with me for like almost 2 years training. And so as my evolution in social media became, me posting videos and pictures of people working out and so on, referrals started to come from the internet. And that was like whenever that was an official, I have something here. This is a business now, And so it just continues to go on. And I think just adding a tremendous amount of value to people's lives and solving a problem for them, where maybe it's a lack of knowledge, a lack of motivation, or a lack of organization that they need to have from a personal trainer. I think being able to do that helps keep the ball rolling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when you were transitioning from the fitness and then doing the meal prep, and you said it started out with you just prepping your own meals.
Sure.
And then it started to get to where you started to provide that meal prep to your clients. How did you get to the point where you, actually want to start going full force on this? What sparked it? You gave it to one person, and then you're like, did you come across in your mind like, oh, I may have something bigger here, or what made you want to continue to move forward in that direction?
Number one, when I first started doing it, the money was really nice. It's a ton of work. I mean,
for the meal prep?
Yeah.
Okay.
For anybody who does their own prep at home, I mean, it's a lot of work. Like prepping your own food is a ton of work. It takes hours, and it takes some strategy. It takes knowing what you need for the week. So it was just a lot of work. But what pushed that in the direction of keeping them together was just seeing that the two go hand in hand. And very often you could have someone who's training and working out and they're not seeing the result, and that's almost always at fault of nutrition or poor food value. So having them together almost always was like having a double-edged sword. You have the result coming from the diet, and you also have the result coming from the training, which makes me look awesome. So why would I not keep doing that?
Exactly.
Especially when it's utilized fully and someone's following the plans and following the steps and doing what they know they should be doing. They almost always work, together. 9 times out of 10, they work exactly as they should.
And then, like I said before, like having that background being a private chef, I mean, has definitely been a great reflection on what you do in your meal prep as well. So how do you come up with the ideas of, the different menu items that you put in your meal prep, or how do you decide, what you want to put out this week or that week and things like that? What's the format or your mindset on coming up with the different meals that you come up for your meal prep?
Primarily, it's a creative process. I try not to repeat doing something very much. So I'm constantly buying and reading books. A lot of recipes are like 20-year-old recipes that have taken a new trendy swing.
Right.
Some simplification, some change of wordage, and it's back out there like something brand new. You know how things work.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really a creative process that I get to have a lot of fun with. I basically can do whatever I want as long as I can make it clean.
Yeah.
So it gets a little tricky because it's hard to recycle the same, you're producing, but you have to make the same products seem like it's something brand new. I also have to keep in mind that these products it's not like you go to a restaurant, you get a plate of food, you're going to eat that plate of food right away. Some of this food has to last 7 to 10 days. So I always have to do things with longevity in mind, and there's certainly a strategy to it. I just try to make sure that I keep some creative freedom and make it fun. No one wants to diet eating cardboard or eating like a rabbit. It's just not. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun, and so it's not cool doing that. Me personally, I could survive on sweet potatoes, egg whites, and chicken breasts for years and be totally cool with that, with the occasional donut in the mix. I could be totally good with that.
Yeah, you gotta have that every now and then.
My donut connect hooked me up the other day.
He said he's got a donut
Shout
connect.
out to Mandy at Pub Chip Shop. Hey, I'm not even kidding. You know what I'm talking about. These donuts, man, I'm telling you right now.
Hold on, where's this at?
Carson Street.
Oh, okay.
Down the south side.
I gotta check this place out.
I see how excited you are. You know about these donuts. These over there pumped.
We gotta get some of these in here one day.
So I should have I just got 2 dozen. I should have brought them and sat right here. But that's my go-to is a donut.
Okay.
Whatever. I'll eat 9 of them.
We all got something. I guess my cheat meal would be like pizza. That's my
red
kryptonite.
wine and donuts. That gets me every time.
Red wine and donuts?
Yeah, forget about it.
That is funny.
Whatever. Judge me if you want.
hey, I mean, the great thing about that, I mean, it shows that you're human. You know what I mean? You do have weaknesses.
Yeah. And the donut is it. Yeah. They have a donut with maple and jalapeno bacon on it.
Jalapeno bacon?
Yeah, like spicy jalapeno roasted bacon.
See,
on
I love
donut.
And I love spicy. It's fire?
Oh my God.
On a donut?
Forget about it. Man. Yeah.
Okay.
Fire, for sure.
All right, so that was a little segue. But let me see. It's hard to get back on track after that.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Everybody with donuts.
No, it's all good. So what are like a couple of examples that you've made? Some items that you've made for your meal prep, like in the past couple weeks. Like list off this menu because you just went off on the donuts.
Yeah.
Let's get the savory, delicious meals that you've made over the past few weeks.
Out of control. Some examples. All right. Just this last weekend, we did a white balsamic chicken with grilled grapefruit, and that was with.
And I saw that. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
sugar
snap peas and pilaf orzo. So I mean.
I don't even know what that is, but it sounds delicious.
It's like just a wild rice mix with orzo and some lentils and some roasted corn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really simple stuff. Earthy. I mean, it's not hard to make extremely good food. Good for you food. Taste well. Use herbs. Use a little salt. Use, just don't use butter. I have people on the phone with me. It's like, yeah, what are you cooking with? It's like people are just doing whatever.
So what are you cooking with?
Primarily coconut oil, olive oil all the time. And that's it. You won't find any other oils.
So that's what you would recommend people normally cook with? That'd be a good substitute instead of using butter?
My opinion, in my kitchen, if you walk into my kitchen and try to figure out what we're using, it's a lot of white wine, cooking wine, a lot of red wine, a lot of coconut oil, and a lot of extra virgin olive oil. That's it. You won't find too much else going on in there.
So what are some other good items that you've made in the past couple weeks?
I do a lot of like protein oatmeals.
Okay.
So like overnight oats, chocolate peanut butter protein oats.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, all that type of stuff. Roasted nuts on top, that type of stuff.
Uh-huh.
I made hummus last week. I think I did spicy sweet potato and turmeric hummus with pita and fresh vegetables.
See, and I normally don't eat hummus, but the way you describe that sounds fire.
It's bomb, man. It's so good. It's so good. And I do a different hummus every week. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So do you come up with?
I make it by hand.
So do you come up with like different, do you come up with like a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner? You make all those?
All of it.
Okay.
From top to bottom.
So I'm a breakfast guy.
Yeah.
You said donuts earlier. I mean, I don't do donuts.
Obviously.
Not on the regular.
Doing, yeah.
Not on the regular. But what are some like breakfast items that you make for your meal prep?
Man, like I mentioned, the oatmeal, egg whites, fresh fruit all the time. Almost every week we have some sort of protein oatmeal with fresh fruit, either whole eggs or egg whites, along with it. Pancakes and waffles, usually sort of like flax or whole grain waffle or pancake, sweet potato pancake, that type of stuff. Paired along with like a Fiesta egg white or whole egg with the diced peppers and something like that. Always fresh fruit, turkey bacon or turkey sausage, that type of stuff. So we run through a lot of different breakfasts in the span.
I feel
of
like
maybe
we should have
6 to
had
8
like
weeks.
this lined up or something.
Did a display.
Yeah, that just sounds so good right about now.
Did a display.
I'm gonna have to grab some breakfast afterwards.
Always making people hungry.
Exactly.
See, that's job security. I get your appetite right, then I make you work out. So,
exactly. That's the way to do it.
That's not how it works.
So, I forgot what I was gonna say, but so now I remember. So what's the best way for someone to get these delicious meals? If it's like, say for example, I wanted to get some of these delivered to me,
Sure.
how would I go about that? What's the process for somebody wanting to get some of that?
Well, if anybody wanted to reach out to me, they could find me on social media. They could find me on Facebook or Instagram.
Which one are you on more, or is it, or
Instagram
doesn't
is
matter?
almost instantaneous response from me. Same with Facebook, but for some reason, Facebook usually takes me like 4 hours to get back to people. I don't know why, but it's like you have to filter through notifications to see that someone's left you a message. So it just takes a little bit more effort. But if you want to get a hold of me almost immediately, text me or reach out to me on Instagram.
Okay.
My Instagram is The Greater Physique PGH on Instagram, and you can find me on social media on Facebook, The Greater Physique LLC page, either or. I'll add you to a subscription list, and you'll start to get our menus right away. They're absolutely free. You can sign up. If you know a friend and you're signed up, you can share the link, share it on social media, however you want to do it. But you will receive a menu every Thursday. We confirm our orders on Saturday, and the food shows up at your doorstep Sunday night. So every week, same operation.
Awesome.
Without fail. Rain, sleet, or snow.
Hey, I mean, that's what you got to do. I mean, you're running an operation, so you want to keep it smooth. You want to keep it consistent.
Absolutely.
So whenever, and I know, and I've seen your process whenever you're doing the meal prep and things like that. I mean, on the weekends, you're pretty much not available.
Yeah, don't call me. I get mad when that phone rings on a Sunday.
I feel like one of the cool things people could and maybe even should see is maybe having like a behind the scenes of when you're doing the meal prep. Sure. I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It's just a matter like you're not gonna hear too much dialogue from me.
Yeah. You could have it could be like most fitness videos where it's just like music in the background. I mean, but at least it would almost give your audience a closer connection to how everything is going down, and somebody that may be on the meal prep list, seeing how their food is made and things like that. I think that would be cool to see.
Yeah, anybody who follows my Snapchat has seen a lot of Sunday.
Okay, so follow you on Snapchat?
Yeah, follow me on Snapchat, Michael Evan TGP. There's a lot that happens on Snapchat.
Okay.
Primarily, like, everybody who's anticipating getting food that day is able to see it before it comes out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
I try to make sure I update as much as possible on Snapchat on Sundays in particular, because that's like my food day.
Yeah.
I have a lot of, like I said, it's a lot of work, but I have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, and it's worth it.
Yeah. I have a lot of food, and my thing is just like like when people come to me and they want to get signed up for it and they want to use it, doesn't matter if it's for 1 week or 15 weeks. If they see value in it, that makes me happy.
Oh,
like
yeah.
If I'm helping them do better than what they have been doing, then I'm a happy guy. Period. Like that's it.
So what's the future for the Greater Physique, or what are some big things that you may be trying to do? Some ideas that come to my mind that I would do is maybe have an app, maybe have some nutritional facts on there, or maybe even some fitness videos or whatever, or having a way for people to be able to order, things like that. Some other things that come to mind, maybe having a nutritional book, things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe become a fitness speaker and things like that. Any of those things come to your mind, or what is the path that you would like to take the Greater Physique on?
Well, I certainly, you hit the nail on the head when you said speaker.
Okay.
I certainly see talking to groups of individuals, especially as we head into the fall season, into the winter. I've actually been brainstorming large motivational groups for people, because there's so many people who are in fitness and just not necessarily lack a sense of direction, but just lack the organizational side of what it takes to be successful in fitness. You have to be a very organized, disciplined person to be extremely successful in your fitness life. And what success you find in fitness, you can apply to your life, to everything else that you do. It takes consistency, a lot of hard work, and planning to be good in fitness, period. Find me somebody who's in shape that's not organized about at least their workouts or at least their diet. Almost everybody who's extreme, like look at a fitness competitor's life. They know what time they're eating, how much they're going to have, how frequent they're going to eat, what they're training, what body parts, where they're training, and so on. So like it just takes being really, really organized. And I think speaking to people and sharing the knowledge that I've acquired over the last 5 years is extremely valuable. So moving into the direction of talking to people and connecting more, that's definitely something I see doing in the future. Very soon.
I mean, and I mean, it could be debated that people that are in fitness are probably the most organized. I mean, just based off what you just described. I mean, from the timing and when you're eating things and when you're portioning things and things like that. I mean, you know, hands down, could be some of the best people that are well organized.
Yeah, and disciplined. I mean, like, in order for you to go, like, when I'm on and I'm not, you know, and diet and training is number one, I could go 6 to 10 weeks without deviating from the plan. That's a lot of, like, you got to really have a mindset that's made for seeing the end goal. I want to see how much, just for the sake of doing it. Not even doing it for competition's sake or doing it for a photo shoot or anything like that, which people do all the time. Maybe they'll set up a photo shoot 10 weeks from now just to have a goal to move towards. And that's awesome. But just to be able to do that for the sake of taking some pictures takes an extreme amount of discipline and self-drive. You know, you have to know what you want. And if you want to be in tip-top shape, then you have to line it up and be, you know, as that goal is moving towards you, you are consistently moving towards it. And that is extremely important. The discipline side of it is extremely important.
So what are some things that have helped you develop that mindset? Because not everybody has that. I mean, oh God, I wish people had more of a mindset like that.
Definitely.
So how would you say you develop that mindset? What is it, somebody that you listen to, somebody that you like to listen to frequently, a motivational speaker, a business owner? Like, what was it that, or books or anything like that? What developed that mindset for you?
I think in the early stages of realizing, like, I need to be more timely, I need to be sharper, I need to be smarter, I need to be better. I think early on it was me recognizing that other people had smarts that I didn't. I don't think it had anything to do with a motivational speaker, one book in particular, any other owner or anything like that. I think it was just seeing, like, working in restaurants, for instance, standing behind the line, watching people experience their evening and having a good time, sitting across from their friends. That was motivation enough for me. It was like, I want to be at the table. I want to be on the other side of this counter instead of in this sweaty chef coat.
Oh my gosh, I'm the same way.
Like, in so many instances where I was just like, I want to be the person invited to the party, not the person catering it.
Exactly.
And so that was the most important realization, was that I wanted to be the guest at some point, and I didn't want to continue being the help. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with being the help.
Right.
But after you've done it for a certain amount of time, you're ready
You want
to
to
sit
get
on the other side of the table.
you want to get your call.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. And so one event after another, slowly realizing that, hey, I'm getting better. And then it just became the hunger for progress, wanting to get sharper, wanting to get more skillful, and so on. That's all.
So it sounds like it, because even for me, one of the things that you said, you were like behind the scenes and you saw people that you wanted to be in that position.
Sure.
So it was almost kind of like you saw people in life where you wanted to be.
Absolutely.
Type thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I feel the same way with that as well. So what are some things that you would like to do as far as the motivational speaking? Would you want it to be more web-based? You wanted to do more in person? Would you want to do tours and seminars? How would you want to go about
Tours and
doing that?
seminars sound amazing.
Okay.
But, I'm a big believer in don't try to teach too soon. You know what I mean? First you live through the experience and fight some wars and get punched in the face a couple times, and then you have the right to tell people about your experience. But I feel like if personally, I have experienced some things and I've built some relationships with clients that are extremely important, and I've had some experiences with people, not so much as training clients, but just with people, that there are certain aspects of this that I get to understand because I never worked for a gym. I never worked for a box. So I don't know what it's like to do things traditionally as a personal trainer. You can ask any number of my clients. I know where they live. I know their kids. I know their work schedules. I know their ups and downs. It's very personal. So having the understanding of this is more than just the gym, I think is really, really important. And so I'm getting used to seeing myself on camera. I'm Snapchatting a lot. I'm talking a lot about my experiences with people. And I'm sharing a lot of note-to-self information on the internet now.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
And the response to it amongst my clients is really, really well. It's really good. Because you can be venting about something and it be applicable to so many different people for whatever they are going through. And so I think talking to people and reaching out, I've always wanted to find a way to connect with people, and this is it. And I strongly believe that this is the one topic, health, wellness, organization, motivation, inspiration, all those cliche things that what's trending now. All those things, I think they're extremely important, and they help people.
Right.
Genuinely help people push themselves to the next level. A foot in the ass. Is what people, and that I never had that when I was younger.
Right.
So me being able to be that for people, for certain people, amazing.
Right.
Awesome. Because I always wish that there was just some one person to just say, you're doing this wrong. Stop doing it this way. You're making mistakes. This is what you should, and a lot of people don't have that. So that's really the driving force behind wanting to connect with people.
And one of the things that I've noticed about your social media as well, because and for people that are looking to try to put out content, things like that, they have trouble with putting stuff out, and they feel like they have to create everything, or it has to be like this big lavish setup and things like that. Yeah. And I know somebody that you follow a lot is Gary Vee as well, and we kind of follow the same format as well. Definitely. Is the document over create.
Yeah.
And I've been doing a lot of that as well, and I feel like that helps a lot too when you're doing like those little like journal type videos and things like that, or note to self videos. And I've found that even in the stories of like Instagram and Snapchat and things like that is almost a secondary place to even do vlog type videos too. And I've been doing a lot of that too. So even actually now we're on the subject, have you ever thought about doing a vlog type video for like a YouTube channel, or have you ever thought about doing any videos on YouTube?
Yeah, actually, this has been like the last 4 or 5 weeks just trying to figure out how I can structure it so that
don't structure it.
That's the thing too, is like, okay, there's a lot of overthinking. At this point, I just need somebody to hold the camera.
Right.
Because it's hard. I can't coach and train.
Tripod.
Yeah, I can't coach and train and have people running and moving and doing all this stuff and hold it. camera, like,
Right.
I'd look ridiculous trying to like host a whole session.
Exactly.
Holding the phone, which I do anyway.
Uh-huh.
But it gets more and more difficult as the sessions evolve and I'm in different places and so on.
I mean,
so,
you can get a small little tripod set up, put it on the floor,
Yeah.
and tilt it up a little bit, hit
Definitely.
record, and be done. Actually, one of the things that I did notice that you can do, because I noticed that you record videos and then you'll stop maybe working out because maybe the video stopped recording. You do that?
No.
Okay, so I'm wrong on that.
No.
So, but one of the things that you could do, there's this app called InShot where you can like do seamless recording for like minutes upon minutes.
Sure.
And in that, it'll chop your video up into like sections of 15 seconds so
Okay.
that'll work perfectly in like stories and play like
Yeah.
super seamlessly.
That's awesome.
I've been using that a lot.
InShot.
Oh yeah, InShot. It's good. It's in the Google store. I don't know if it's in the on the iPhone.
You're one
Yeah.
of them. All right.
Yeah, that's another episode in itself. But
I was like, oh.
I ain't gonna lie. I do want to get an iPhone one day,
It's all
but
good.
just not right now.
It's all good.
But yeah, that's a good app to be
InShot.
able to use. Yeah. Yeah. So what are some other things that actually one of the things that I want to try to do moving forward, even with the show, is let's say because this is going to be online for years upon years
Sure.
upon years. What would you like to say to yourself right now? And you can think about it for a little bit. What would
Yeah.
you like to say to yourself 2 or 5 years down the line? What would you like to say to yourself? Or what would you like to have accomplished in that time frame?
This is still relevant to this minute. If I could talk to my former self, it would be, don't procrastinate. When you get the idea and you put together the plan, go for it. Act on it. Don't continue waiting. Don't drag things out. Be very decisive. Make decisions. Don't obviously make uneducated decisions, but when you have an idea or you have a plan or you really believe inside that something can work out, get up and go do it. Because people wait on ideas and opportunities pass. Really simple example is 2 or 3 days ago, I had a really important prospect call my phone and I was too busy to call this person back. Well, I called back a little too late. And I called back, and I called back, and I called back. And the prospect had moved on. They found someone else. And that's the example of do not wait, do not hesitate, because opportunity will walk away from you in a heartbeat. If I could tell my former self to do anything, it would be very decisive and pick and choose who is around far better. Learn quickly. Watch what people do. If you have garbage in your circle, get rid of them. Don't stick around long. Because you'll look up in a year, whether it's 1 month, 6 months, a year later, you will have picked up so many of their bad habits and their bad traits. It's extremely hard to be the positive standing in a room full of negative.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to do. You can do it for a certain period of time, but eventually you'll break.
Oh yeah.
So get away from people who aren't hedging forward. Stagnant people. Get away from them. If I could talk to my former self, it would be, don't hesitate. Pick and choose who's around very carefully, and yeah, that would be it. That would be it.
Yeah,
and
so-
learn quickly. Learn fast. Learn if you're doing something and it's not working out, change it. Don't do the same thing expecting a different result. That's insanity. It's ridiculous. Do something, find out it doesn't work, move on to the next thing.
Right.
Or adjust and change, make some, manipulate your plan. But don't stick around, beating a dead horse.
Right. Try, fail, and adjust.
Learn quickly. Learn quickly, because people are light years ahead of you because they're for only one reason. It wasn't because they were smarter or they had more resources and money. It was because they learned faster than you did. So learn quickly, choose your circle wisely, and don't hesitate. That would be it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
That would be it.
So, in wrapping up, what would be like, and maybe we didn't cover it, or maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about it, what would be a few things that you would say is like the impact that you want to leave on people, or what would you say you will want your legacy to be moving forward in life?
Oh, legacy, that's tough. If I had to leave a legacy with any one person, it would just be, those three things there, but obviously just be okay, just for everybody to just be okay being 25%, okay? 25% is better than 0. A little bit is better than nothing. If you're starting something or you're doing something, you should feel okay with being 25% because last week you were at 0. This week you're at 25%. 6 months from now you might be at 50%. 6 months from then you might be 65%. You're working towards being 100, whether it's you being successful or you getting money or you having great relationships with your friends and family, whichever. But if I had to leave a legacy, it would just be okay with the journey of moving forward, progress. But don't stand still. Just continue to slowly move forward. And my legacy would solely be about some guy who was at one point at 25%, who is now living a dream. And looking back, you can say he started with $288 at his grandmother's dining room table, and now look at him. Look at him.
That's
look
awesome.
at him go. And the people he's worked with, and you know, my clients inspire me just as I hopefully inspire them and motivate them. So that would be what I hope to leave with people.
That's awesome.
Just be okay with the progress.
And
just continue making it.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Exactly.
Go. Yeah.
And the thing is, I mean, and to your point, I mean, we all start at 0%.
Yeah, right.
So that's a cool thing. You always want to be trying to work to the point where you get to that 100%.
Always be okay with being at. Some days you're going to be at, 60% capacity. You're not going to be able to operate at 130%. Going here, going there, making phone calls, this, that, and the third thing. But you have to get up and do something. Don't just do nothing. Continue moving forward.
Cool.
So
awesome. Well, I feel like that's a great way to end the show. I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Of course.
It's always a pleasure to get a chance to sit down and talk and things like. And we're definitely gonna kick it some more moving in the future. I definitely want to work on some things some more. So yeah, that wraps up today's show. If you guys got any questions or concerns, please leave them in the comments down below. If you got any suggestions or any recommendations, they're all up for consideration. So now that you know what Mike does with his 24 hours, I want to know what you do with your 24 hours.